no issue. In fact, Islam, I don't know if you're familiar. Are you familiar with the Golden Age?
I'm familiar that happened not long after the Prophet passed away, right?
Yeah, so when Europe was
So
going...
the rightly guided believers
Um,
established Islam promoted science and algebra and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, so it was done in parallel with the Dark Ages. When Europe was going through the Dark Ages, the Muslim nations were going through the Golden Ages.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean...
But why didn't that continue? Like, why didn't we see a continued golden age? Like, what happened? Like,
Well, I'm going to borrow the answer from yourself. There's so many different variables and variations, but I'm not going to use that as a cop-out. That as a preface answer. Of course, there's loads of variables and variations, political, economical, social. But as somebody who believes that our purpose in life is predicated on the Most High, on the one true God, and us following His teachings, so naturally, the more a person becomes distant from those fundamental teachings, and the more a person becomes subject and slaves to the desires, like who said that we have two sovereign leaders, pleasure and pain?
Mill? I don't know.
Bentham, Jeremy Bentham.
Okay.
Yeah. So so when Muslims, one of the analyses that we have is when Muslims fell prey to becoming, it's like there's a saying, isn't it? Hubbu dunya ra'su kulli khati'ah. Prophet peace be upon him said, love of this world is the root of all evil. Yeah, meaning that if you fall in love and obsessed with something, eventually that thing will take over you. So when Muslims when Muslims went away from their Lord, then there's a saying, if you fix a relationship with God, God will fix a relationship with the people. So because Muslims severed our relationship with God, then our relationship with the world became severed as well. So that's one of the reasons. But so coming back to the point, so we accept that there's existence, and did we accept that there is stability for us to do science?
I don't really think that there is, because even with the fundamental laws of nature, like gravity, it was at the start of the universe, it was repulsive, and then it developed to become attractive. And now we don't really fully understand quantum physics. None of that is uniform or stable, and everything is subject to entropy. So nothing ever is uniform or stable indefinitely. So I don't.
But then,
really
according
think
to
there
you,
is.
then Max, if I was to randomly explode, it shouldn't really bother you.
It depends what the causal forces were for that.
No, just randomly. That's why I use the word random. In fact, in my example, maybe I'll say it again with this preface. Maybe I didn't emphasize on this enough. So let's just say, if I hold my watch out, and this watch, why is this watch not randomly floating away, combusting, being soaked into the ground, or any of these things? Why is that not the case?
The laws of nature are the way that they are, that then allow for you to keep your wrist on your watch on your wrist. But the laws of nature, I would argue, could have been configured in any number of different
Could have
ways.
been, but we're talking about what they are now.
Yeah, but what they are now is not necessarily perfect. That would just be subjective. I would rather it be that gravity is a lot weaker on Earth. Then that would be really cool. I could jump hundreds of feet into the air. I could be like a Superman.
But you can't.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the way that it is kind of arbitrary. The fact that your watch stays on your wrist is kind of cool, but then there are loads of things that aren't great. There's lots of poisonous things in the environment. I know we live in quite a good well-developed society, so we've mitigated those threats. But initially, it used to be the case: you catch a cold, you die, because we didn't have any medicine. There are parasites that exist that develop inside your body and eat you from the inside. There are all number of things that you can point to and be like, that's not right, that's not uniform. It's just the way the world is.
Okay, you're conflating two things. One's a problem of evil, that's more of a moral argument, and one is the uniformity, regularity, stability, in the sense that, and the thing, Max, the reason why this is so fundamental and so important is because if you can't agree that there is some form of URS, then you won't be comfortable crossing the road. Why? Because cars can randomly just start smashing you in the face. There is an order, and look, I know you can say if, but in this world and that. But that's why I said, look, if we're just walking, because the thing is, look, Max, even the science, and we can come to the science as well, but the thing is, there has to be a degree of rationality, a degree of sense. You have to be at least sensible enough to agree that science can be done, because if somebody went into a lab.
Can we talk about the URS thing?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so URS would exist on a spectrum. Do you agree? Because like, if we lived in like a Minecraft world where like everything is in blocks and it fits in these neatly together, that would be on the higher spectrum of URS, right? And then you would have on the lower end of the spectrum, just like you say, everything spontaneously combusting and exploding. Now we exist on that spectrum, but where we exist is kind of arbitrary because there's a lot of like more conceptual universes that have much higher degree of URS and more that have a much lesser degree of URS. So where we are on that spectrum isn't like anything special. It's just one configuration out of an infinite number of configurations.
Yeah, so you're pointing fingers at the fine-tuning model, and you're saying it's part of a continuum. Again, you're saying possible universes. Firstly, that's not even something that's accepted by any mainstream scientist. There's no evidence for possible universes. Well, multiple universes, the multiverse. So
Some scientists do advocate for the multiverse.
there's no evidence for the multiverse.
Yeah, but it's just a theory. So it's like God, you can't prove it either way, right? So like you couldn't disprove multiverse.
I would argue we can prove God, but again,
Yeah.
using what though? That's why initially I said if you want to prove God using just empiricism, well then of course not. If you want to do it using empiricism, rationality, ontology, and philosophy, then yeah. So it depends. It depends. Yeah.
So most philosophers are agnostic or atheist. Do you think that those agnostic and atheistic philosophers are not using rationality or logic or those other faculties that you mentioned? Like, do you think that there's something that they're lacking? Because if they did have them, that they would arrive that God is true.
I would disagree with that premise that most philosophers were atheists, because this phenomenon of atheism has only been popularized in the second half of this century, to be fair.
Or agnostic. Most are agnostic, right? Because they know that, like me, that's the most sound position, because you can't disprove God, right?
Not necessarily. To be honest, Max, I would actually argue that our definition of even God, of us taking the position of God and being agnostic, I think even this is relatively new. Just like in maths, we have axioms, and the deists that you said do accept that there is a necessary being. I mean, logically.
They used to, but now as we gain knowledge, then there's like a trajectory away from even deism towards naturalism. And
That's quite weak, though.
So most philosophers tend to now be naturalists or be agnostic and just say, well, like there's limits to our current knowledge. Maybe one day we'll know either way. Like maybe technology will get to a point where we can rip a hole in the universe and then we can see God poking out the other side. Like that would be pretty cool. Like you never know. Like might happen. Like but it's something.
Is that what it would take for you to believe?
If we ripped a hole in the fabric of reality and
I mean like as a general question, like is seeing God like number one for you to believe in God?
Evidence. So yeah, empirical evidence would be very strong, but even then, like I could be dreaming. Somebody could have like spiked my drink with drugs and then or acid or something.
He knows too much. Abort!
Like so, But I think that, like, if I saw something that was supernatural that I couldn't explain by any other causal mechanism, then that would definitely make me think twice, and I'd be like, right, maybe there is a God. Like,
But doesn't that suffer the problem of induction?
In what way?
In the sense that just because it's not something that's familiar with us, therefore it can't happen. That's an assumption, isn't it? That
But,
science
like,
is gonna.
I guess like so it's induction where like if you have
So induction is, let's just say, you have a copper wire that conducts electricity.
Yeah.
Scientific belief is that it will continue doing the same tomorrow.
Exactly. So like let's say you have like a bunch of ducks and they're coming around the corner and you can only see one duck at a time and they're all black ducks and then there's another duck coming around the corner, you'd be like, I reckon that's a black duck. Now I would say that being a naturalist is everything up until this point has been explained by natural explanations. So then it makes most sense to adopt that point of view. Until you come across something that can't be explained by a natural explanation, then you have to be on the fence about it. But if there's evidence of the supernatural, then you can like adopt that point of view, right? So like up until this point, everything that's been confirmed has been naturalistic. But on the things that haven't been confirmed, I'll just be on the fence. I won't know either way because currently we don't have the understanding, we don't have a naturalist explanation. But then invoking the supernatural isn't necessarily the right thing to do. Just because you can't, that's the God of the gaps.
I understand.
Right? So like, I guess I'm on the fence until I get enough evidence to convince me otherwise.
So what about dark energy? What's your thoughts about dark
I don't
energy?
really know anything about dark energy. I know that it comprises like 70% or 80% of the universe, but I don't know a lot about it. I don't think many physicists know anything about dark energy. Like, relatively speaking, they just know that it occupies the majority of reality, but like we don't fully understand it. Like, nobody really understands it.
Yeah, to be honest, the naturalistic position I think is a very weak position in science because there's too many. In fact, it's a belief. It's a belief, I would say, that's paralleled with religious belief. For example, dark energy. You said 80% of the universe.
Yeah.
It's approximately 85%, and there is absolutely no empirical evidence for, and when I say empirical evidence, in the sense of science, that we can experiment, that we have observed it.
Yeah, we've observed the effects of it.
The effects of it.
Yeah, it's like gravity though. Like we invoke a naturalistic explanation of gravity because we see the effects of gravity, but it's not like we can point to something and be like, that's gravity, right?
Yeah.
But we know that mass attracts, so we've just called out that force, which is gravity. Dark energy is the same sort of thing, right?
Yeah, so I mean, dark energy also, I mean, it's dark energy at this moment in time, because it's 85% of the universe, it's not necessarily in the same position of gravity. Like gravity is a force, dark energy is something a bit more substantive. But the thing is, we have very less understanding of it. But look.
How do you know it's not force?
Because I don't think that's the prevalent. I don't think that's the prevalent view that scientists have taken.
So what is it then? Because nobody really knows what it is.
Yeah. So they say that 85% of the universe, it's most of the things that's been said about dark energy. What did I say? Dark matter is that dark matter, because of the way galaxies are held together. There's definitely something that's holding galaxies together. Otherwise, they will have fell apart.
Gravity.
No, they say dark matter.
But gravity would hold it together because
it's not strong enough.
Well, at the middle of a galaxy is a
It's
supermassive
a black hole,
and then it's using gravity
It's not
to
enough.
pull the
It's not
matter.
enough. It's not enough. So that's why they're saying that dark matter. That's one of the evidences of the dark matter. The way the galaxies are held together, and there's certain other ways that they've observed phenomenon, like you've said as well. Gravity and the black hole is just not enough. So that's one of the reasons. But the thing is, science is so. When this is discussed, it's discussed so nonchalantly. No one will come along and say, "Hey, look, this is belief. I mean, it could be, couldn't be. We should be agnostic about this. We should sit on the fence." No one says this. it's done like, no, we can see the effects of it. But one of the examples that was given was that, look, when you see feces, especially in Britain, if I see feces in Hyde Park, hopefully, we're not going to assume it was Amber Heard. Yeah, we're going to assume that it was a dog. Yeah. So that's the effect. Now, the argument here that I was hoping to kind of get to was that, look, rather than bringing all this kind of, it could be this in that world, it could be this in the universe, if we see design, it indicates towards a designer. It's something that's rationality.
And
really?
Most scientists,
even Richard Dawkins, and he's,
he
Dawkins.
calls it the blind watchmaker. He doesn't see design either.
No, but because with Ben Stein, when he had a conversation, he actually said this. He said, I agree, and he actually does, and it's in one of the books.
He would say something like, I agree that the universe appears to have design, but that's because we've evolved to recognize patterns, and we see patterns, but the patterns are only in such a way because that's the universe happened to be. But it
Not necessarily. I heard that. I heard somebody else say that as well. That's a bit far-fetched, and that's assuming. There's so many assumptions in that need unpacking. But coming back to Dawkins, so what Dawkins said was, there is design, I just refuse to call it a god. It could be an alien, it could be a comet, it could be like
I don't think that he
Check it out.
believes
Check it out.
So what he believes in a deistic, he believes that
He's
there was
more-
a designer of the universe.
He's more coming towards the deistic. In fact, even the fine-tuning argument, he actually said in one of these, he was.
I'm pretty sure he's an agnostic, so he doesn't.
No. He's what they call a militant atheist. Now, what I'm trying to say is he's coming towards, okay, there is a designer, there is design. I just refuse to call it God. It could be an alien. So the point that I'm trying to say, Max, is that it's this whole notion that sometimes I think there are other notions, or there are biases, and that's the reason why you're seeing a lot of agnostics or atheist scientists, because it's actually not fashionable to believe in God. Because if you actually believe in God and intelligent design, you're actually going to be discredited in the scientific scene. There's actually, again, Ben Stein had this documentary called Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed, in which he documented academics who suffered because they challenged Darwin's evolution. So there is a notion, and again, it's not as simple as, there are a lot of people that are becoming, I mean, I could make the opposing argument that Newton was a theist, and Planck was a theist, Kepler was a theist, Ibn al-Haytham was a theist. So there's in fact most of these people were theists, as opposed to agnostics and even atheists.
I don't want to say that you're a liar, but I think that you might have misinterpreted Dawkins, because he wouldn't say that he thinks that an alien has created the universe. He definitely, I've seen him in quite a lot of his material say that he's an agnostic or he just takes the term atheist because it's just colloquially used as somebody who advocates against theism. So he's like you say, a militant atheist, somebody who advocates against theism, but he wouldn't say that because he believes that there's the appearance of design that it was an alien or it was God or anything like that. I don't think he might have misinterpreted that.
Yeah, no. Dawkins said something along the lines of
I would have to see the specific quote.
Yeah, you can see it, but he's not saying, it's an alien. Yeah, if you just type in Richard Dawkins and Ben Stein interview.
Okay, I'll have to watch that in my own time.
Yeah.
But I think we've had a really fruitful discussion today.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely want to see a lot of the other speakers, so I just want to make sure that I see other people.
No, awesome.
Thanks very much for
no,
the
my
discussion
pleasure.
today.
My pleasure.
And I think that you've definitely given me a lot of insights
thank
into
you.
Your point of view of and also I guess you represent a mainstream consensus view. I know that you have your YouTube channel and you've got quite a big following, and I do find your videos entertaining. So
I appreciate that, Max.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for your
discussion.
time as well.
Right,
Take
cheers.
care. Take care.
So are you going to do many more of these talks today then?
Yeah, just like yourself, to be honest, just go around and have other discussions with people. But yeah, just sometimes, when you're like engaged in a really nice conversation, it's going back and forth.
The time gets away with you a bit.
No, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I do like it as well, but the thing is that we could not.
No, 100%.
We could
bro.
continue.
Can you just clip it onto like? No, I'll do it. Yeah.
We could continue talking for like 3 hours about this.
100%. No, 100%. And I think that's the thing with Speaker's Corner. One thing you're gonna see, Max, is there is a lot of like, it was that initial kind of thing that you had at the start that, look, I don't really preach to, and you see that a lot. In fact, here's an objective test. When you go around, see the people that are shouting, see the people that are wagging fingers and stuff like that, come to your own come to your own conclusion.
Yes, I do think that
And I prefer to stay away from that sort of thing. I'd rather just
exchange ideas.
just like I said to you at the start.
But hopefully I'll catch you around some other time. So what's your name? Zishan. And I'm Max. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So I'll upload the video and then I'll file something like agnostic.
Gets owned. Agnostic gets destroyed.
Yeah. So we're gonna take some of your clips on our page. I'm gonna add some of those memes.
Agnostic hates Muslims or something.
Oh yeah. No, that's actually from the. That's the one.
I'd rather you didn't do that.
No, I don't think I do. Yeah, no, awesome.
So which channel?
So these,